Senator Anthony Bouchard, District 6 in Wyoming, SF 144, which is Senate File 144, which is a bill that you are very passionate about. Tell us what it is and why you care so much.
Well, it's a really simple bill. It says you can't perform sex change therapy for minors. And if a doctor does it, they lose their license. So it's really simple.
And what's been happening in the state of Wyoming up until now?
Well, you know, we have the doctors saying that it's not necessary because they're not doing anything. They're not doing these procedures. But isn't it interesting that they're fighting so hard for a group of people that aren't supposedly doing these procedures? So we need to stop it in Wyoming before it becomes a problem like it is in the rest of the country anyway.
And tell us what happened yesterday in committee.
Actually, it went pretty well. We had two doctors that actually testified in favor of the bill, one of them from Wyoming. We also had another doctor that testified, and he is with an organization called Do No Harm. And, you know, we had a few doctors that, or I should say their lobbyists testify. But we really see that there is, I would say the doctors don't want to put their face on the screen, if that makes sense. The opposition, anyway.
The bottom line is you want to protect the kids of Wyoming. That's what this comes down to. And Luka, can you tell us a little bit about your story, where you're from, and what happened to you?
Yeah, so I'm from Nebraska, and I'm someone who was medically transitioned as a minor. And then as I got older, I regretted it and realized I was too young. I couldn't consent to that at the age when that happened. My first medical intervention was a double mastectomy at 16 without any prior like hormone treatments or puberty blockers or anything.
And what's been have you been able to reverse any? I mean, obviously not that, but is there anything you needed to reverse? Is it possible, or how are things for you right now?
So some things are just not possible to reverse. And I'm also dealing with side effects from taking testosterone for 4 years, including like joint pain, my vocal cords hurt. I never know if I'll be able to carry a child ever at this point.
And so what's your message to parents and to kids that are going to watch this and that might be one of those ones that are at that age of maybe 13, 14, 15, and they're a little confused about themselves?
It's a lot better to grow up whole and to know that like puberty is uncomfortable and you need to just learn to love your body the way it is, as opposed to treating it like a disease that needs to be fixed with surgery and medicine.
And as you hear this issue go around the country, obviously it's not just in Wyoming. I mean, there's so many issues happening around the country when it comes to transgender. What goes through your mind, and what do you think the big message is this country needs to hear?
I think the big message is that kids really should be kept out of it. Adults can maybe understand and make their own decisions with this stuff, but there's no place for a child in changing their body in such a drastic way before they've even had a chance to grow up.
So your attitude is, let's just wait till past teen years and wait till somebody's an adult, or at least 18 or 19. Senator, what in respect to Wyoming and what you're hoping to have passed through there, tell us a little bit more about the measure.
Well, one of the things that's different about our bill and the ones you see moving in other states is they're getting little amendments put on that allow them to do it anyway. In other words, well, you know, doctors said that they need to do this, so we're going to do it anyway. We don't have that amendment on our bill, and I'm going to fight that it doesn't happen here. This is specifically to minor children. Minor children aren't ready to make decisions like this, and I'm going to tell you, I think it's very hostile blackmail when they go to parents and say, you know, your child could commit suicide if you don't do this. And interestingly, they're using heavy duty drugs, psychotropic drugs to treat mental illness, but yet those drugs cause just as much harm. They shouldn't even be given these drugs to people under 18 years old. And I'm talking about where they start out with saying there's mental illness and they're treating depression. And then it turns into, oh, let's go right into doing a operation or therapy to sterilize these children and to remove perfectly normal working body parts. So that's the problem here. And that's what we need to do is focus on, we don't need to alter these children. Let them grow up. There are studies that were up to 95% of the children, if just allowed if they were allowed to grow up, they will outgrow these periods of confusion.
And Luka, how many years ago did you have your surgery?
It would have been a little over 4 years ago.
Okay. And it seems like in the last year to 2 years, we've heard a lot more about this issue than we did 4 years ago or 5 years ago. Senator, why do you think that is?
I think it's grown to social media has, I think during COVID, social media even amplified this issue. You can look at a lot of these spaces on the internet where girls as young as 12 years old are looking at these, they're confused about becoming a young woman, and they're looking at this parade of other people that are telling them that they must change. And look, there's a doctor in Miami that goes by the social media name of Titus Deletus and does TikTok videos and basically promoting these young girls removing their breasts. What is that? I mean, that's why we're seeing this. We're seeing social media take off. And I think we have to start investigating Medicaid payments. There are no, I don't think there's codes in the system for some of these operations and some of these procedures, but somebody's paying for it and somebody's making money. There's a terrible conflict of interest here within the medical community.
And speaking about the medical community, so what this measure, what does it call for in respect to any kind of doctor that does move forward with this type of procedure in Wyoming?
Well, in the bill that I have, the bottom line is it's the biggest threat we could do to their careers. We pull their license. And understand, I mean, there's other ways that we could look at possibly doing either criminal charges or civil charges. But I will tell you, with my bill, it does set it up for both of those things without putting it in the bill, if that makes sense. If a doctor continues to do things that they're not supposed to do, that's when you can either take legal action or you can take civil action for it.
Now, your measure unanimously passed out of committee. What's the next step?
It's going to go to the floor on Monday in the Senate.
And how do you feel about it going through both houses?
We've had good feedback. There's another bill that actually has criminal penalties, and there's a whole series of reasons we could talk about why that could be a bad thing, because we don't want to set up parents that were blackmailed with, using mental judo to get them to buy in. We don't want to go after parents. And so that's where my bill differs from the other bill. And there were people that voted against the other bill that has criminal charges. So I think my bill is set up to where those the people that had hesitations on the other bill they're the ones that are already coming on board on my bill.
Any sense as to how the governor feels about the measure?
We haven't done checked that. I mean, under Wyoming Constitution, we're not supposed to play footsies across.
Yeah, understood.
Separation of powers.
Gotcha. Okay, well, is there anything about this that you would like to add that I've not asked you?
You did talk a little bit about why there's a big movement out there. I think that conservatives tend not to know how to fight against these kind of culture wars. And now is the time. We can no longer sit on the sideline and just say, oh, I don't like that. Now we have to actually, we have to be mobilized, and we have to be active, because we have to save these children from these kind of predatory practices that's happening in the medical field.
No doubt. All right, Luka, thank you so much for your time. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for coming to Wyoming.
course.
And Senator Anthony Bouchard, thank you for your time and what you're doing.
Hey, thank you.